Put your hand on your wrist. Find your pulse. Feel the rhythm. Not the speed of it, the rhythm. The beat that has been running since before you were born, that will run until the moment it stops, that operates without your permission, without your instruction, without your conscious awareness. You didn't start it. You can't stop it. It runs on something deeper than thought, deeper than will, deeper than anything the modern world has given you a framework to understand. Now ask yourself a question you've never been asked. What is that rhythm synchronized to? Not what drives it mechanically. You know the answer to that. The sinoatrial node, the electrical impulse, the muscle contraction. The biology is mapped. The mechanism is understood. I'm asking something different. I'm asking what external rhythm the human body was calibrated to before we spent our lives indoors under artificial light on a calendar that doesn't match anything our bodies recognize. What clock was the body built to follow? Because the body has a clock, not a metaphorical clock. A biological clock so precise, so persistent, so resistant to override that it continues ticking even when every external cue has been removed. Even in total darkness, even in isolation from all time cues. The body keeps time, and the time it keeps doesn't match the calendar on your wall. I found this through circadian rhythm research, through the studies where subjects are placed in environments with no external time cues, no sunlight, no clocks, no schedules, and monitored to see what rhythm their biology defaults to. The expectation, if the body were calibrated to the 24-hour solar day, would be that the body would free run at approximately 24 hours, and it does, approximately. The average free-running circadian period is about 24 hours and 11 minutes. Close enough. The body knows the day. But the day isn't the only rhythm the body keeps, and the other rhythms, the ones that operate on longer time scales, are the ones that the modern world has made it impossible to feel, because layered beneath the circadian rhythm, documented in the same chronobiology research that mapped the 24-hour cycle, there are infradian rhythms, cycles longer than a day, and the most prominent, most measurable, most biologically significant of these longer cycles runs at approximately 28 days. 28 days, the menstrual cycle, the rhythm that every biology class mentions and every student reduces to reproductive function, as if the most prominent monthly rhythm in the human body were only about reproduction. As if a cycle that affects hormone levels, body temperature, cognitive function, immune response, pain sensitivity, sleep architecture, and emotional regulation across the entire month were merely a fertility mechanism with some inconvenient side effects. The deeper I went into the research on the 28-day cycle, the more I found that it isn't limited to people who menstruate. This is the part that nobody talks about. Studies dating back to the 1970s and continuing through recent decades have documented approximately monthly hormonal fluctuations in men, testosterone levels, cortisol patterns, mood variations, cognitive performance changes. The male body also cycles on a roughly monthly rhythm, not as dramatically as the female body, not with the obvious physiological markers, but measurably, documentably, with a periodicity that clusters around the same 28-day window. The human body, regardless of sex, has a monthly clock, and that clock runs at 28 days, not 30, not 31, not the irregular, chaotic, unmemorable mess of 28, 29, 30, and 31 that the Gregorian calendar imposes on the month. 28. A number that the calendar on your wall recognizes only once, in February, and that it treats as the exception rather than the rule. This raises a simple but critical question. If the human body keeps a 28-day monthly rhythm, and the calendar months run 28 to 31 days, what happens to the body when its internal clock and its external calendar are permanently out of sync? The silence was deafening when I started looking for research on this question, because the question itself is almost never asked. Chronobiology studies the circadian rhythm extensively. The 24-hour cycle has been mapped in extraordinary detail. The health consequences of circadian disruption, shift work, jet lag, artificial light exposure are extensively documented. But the infradian rhythms, the monthly cycles, the longer biological clocks are treated as secondary, optional, relevant only to reproductive medicine. And the question of whether a calendar that doesn't match the body's monthly rhythm might produce chronic biological disruption, the way artificial light produces circadian disruption, that question barely exists in the research literature. But the evidence is there, scattered across different disciplines, waiting to be connected, as if they were following instructions they didn't fully understand. Start with what the old calendar actually was. Because before the Gregorian calendar, before the Julian calendar, before Rome decided how many days belonged in a month, there was another way of counting. And the deeper I went into the archaeological and anthropological record, the more I found that the old way was nearly universal. 13 months, 28 days each. 13 times 28 equals 364, plus 1 day outside the monthly count. A day of transition, a day that many traditions marked as sacred or ceremonial. 365, a solar year, perfect, whole, repeating. Not one culture, not a handful of cultures. Every pre-institutional culture I examined used some variant of this system. The Maya organized time around cycles of 13. The ancient Egyptians used 12 months of 30 days plus 5 ceremonial days, a different arithmetic arriving at the same structural principle, days outside the monthly count that completed the solar year. The Celtic calendar, as reconstructed from the Coligny calendar, the oldest known Celtic artifact of its kind, organized the year into months that tracked the lunar cycle. Indigenous cultures across North America, South America, Africa, Asia, and the Pacific used lunar months of approximately 28 days as their primary temporal unit. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across every continent, every millennium, every pre-Roman culture that left enough evidence to reconstruct its calendar. The 13-month, 28-day calendar wasn't a primitive approximation. It was a precision instrument. Every month identical. Every month exactly 4 weeks. Every quarter exactly 13 weeks. The first of every month always falling on the same day of the week. Year after year. Century after century. No knuckle trick needed. No memorization required. No irregularity. The body and the calendar synchronized because they were measuring the same thing. The moon, the cycle, the rhythm that the human body already knew. And then Rome happened. The Julian calendar, imposed by Julius Caesar in 46 BC, replaced the lunar-based systems across the Roman Empire with a solar calendar of 12 irregular months. July was named for Julius, August for Augustus. The lengths of months were adjusted to flatter imperial egos. February was shortened to give extra days to the months named after emperors. The calendar became political. It became a statement of power, and it became irregular. Months of 28, 29, 30, and 31 days in a pattern that no biological rhythm recognizes. The Gregorian reform of 1582 refined the Julian calendar's astronomical accuracy but maintained its structural chaos. The months stayed irregular. The weeks didn't divide evenly into months. The quarters didn't balance. The year began on a date with no astronomical significance. And the 13-month system, the system that matched the body, the moon, and the menstrual cycle, was buried so thoroughly that most people alive today have never heard of it. Here's where the story becomes personal. Because the deletion of the 13th month didn't just change the calendar, It changed the body's relationship to time itself. Go track your own rhythms for 3 months, not on a calendar, on a 28-day counter. Mark the days when your energy peaks, when it crashes, when you sleep well, when you sleep poorly, when your mood lifts, when it drops, when you feel sharp, when you feel foggy. Do this honestly, without imposing a pattern, just recording what you feel. And then look at the 28-day cycle, not the calendar month, the 28-day cycle. What you'll find, what the chronobiology research consistently finds, is that your body's rhythms cluster, not around the 1st and the 15th, not around the beginning and end of the calendar month, around phases of a cycle that runs at approximately 28 days regardless of what the calendar says. Your body isn't following January and February. It's following a rhythm that January and February have been obscuring for 2,000 years. The deeper I went into the health implications of this misalignment, the more the modern epidemic of what I'd call temporal dissonance started to come into focus. Because the body doesn't just prefer the 28-day rhythm, it needs it. The same way the body needs the 24-hour light-dark cycle to regulate circadian function. The monthly rhythm isn't optional, it's structural. It governs hormone cascades that affect every system in the body. And when the external temporal framework, the calendar, doesn't match the internal temporal rhythm, the body can't synchronize. Think about what we know about circadian disruption. Shift workers who override their 24-hour rhythm with artificial schedules have higher rates of cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, depression, and cancer. The 24-hour rhythm, when disrupted, produces measurable, documented health consequences. Now ask yourself, what happens when the monthly rhythm is disrupted? Not occasionally, permanently, from birth to death. A lifetime lived inside a calendar that doesn't match the body's monthly clock. A lifetime of scheduling work, rest, socializing, eating, sleeping, exercising against a temporal framework that has no relationship to the hormonal, immunological, and neurological cycles that the body is running beneath conscious awareness. The research on this question barely exists, not because it's been investigated and found unimportant, because it hasn't been investigated. The question of whether calendar-induced monthly temporal dissonance contributes to chronic health conditions is a question that modern medicine has never systematically asked. And the reason it's never been asked is that asking it would require acknowledging that the calendar itself might be a health variable, that the Gregorian calendar, the foundational infrastructure of modern civilization, might be producing chronic biological stress in every human being who lives inside it. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across every system I've investigated. The natural rhythm is replaced by an institutional one. The body protests. The protest is treated as disease. The disease is treated with products. The products generate industries. The industries defend the system that created the disease. And the original rhythm, the one the body was built to follow, is buried so deeply that suggesting its relevance sounds like mysticism rather than biology. Here's what I keep returning to. The physical evidence. Your body, right now. The rhythm you can feel if you stop and pay attention. The monthly fluctuation in energy, in mood, in sleep quality, in cognitive sharpness that you've been attributing to stress, to diet, to random variation, to the chaos of modern life. What if it isn't chaos? What if it's a clock, a 28-day clock that is still running, that has always been running, that will run until you die, ticking against a calendar that can't hear it? The 13th month wasn't just a calendar feature. It was a synchronization tool. It kept the external measurement of time aligned with the internal experience of time. It told the body that the world outside and the world inside were moving together, in rhythm, in harmony, in the same 28-day pulse that the moon follows and the body follows and the calendar for 2,000 years has refused to follow. I'm not telling you to throw away your calendar. The Gregorian system is embedded in every institution, every contract, every schedule, every digital system on Earth. You can't opt out. But I'm asking what it costs to live inside a temporal framework that your body doesn't recognize. I'm asking why the 28-day rhythm that every ancient culture organized its calendar around was replaced with an irregular system that matches no biological cycle in the human body. I'm asking why the research that could quantify the health consequences of this misalignment has never been funded. I'm asking why your body feels something every 28 days that your calendar can't explain. Why you have rhythms that don't match your schedule. Why you feel out of sync in ways that no amount of sleep hygiene or time management can resolve. Why the solution to temporal dissonance is always more discipline, more scheduling, more productivity hacking, rather than the obvious answer that the schedule itself might be the problem. I'm asking what it would feel like to live inside a calendar that matched the rhythm your body is already keeping. What it would feel like to know where you are in the month not by checking your phone, but by feeling it. The way animals feel the season turning, the way the tide feels the moon, the way your body already feels the 28-day cycle that the calendar deleted and your biology refused to forget. Handed a 12-month calendar and told it was the only way to measure time.